On my wedding day, the scene was crowded with guests and very lively. The door of the church was suddenly pushed open, and the person standing at the door, oh, it was my fiancé Liam, who had been missing for more than half a month. He walked in holding the hand of my nanny's daughter, and she was also wearing a wedding dress. The scene was silent for a moment, and everyone was attracted by them. Liam's eyes were firm like a soldier going to die, and he said loudly to the guests, "Everyone, Emily and I are truly in love, so I can't continue with today's wedding." After that, he glanced at me. "Evelyn, I'm sorry, I don't want to marry anyone except Emily. Please break off the engagement with me and give her the position of bride." Emily also looked pitiful as she fought against evil forces. "Evelyn, don't blame Liam, blame me if you want to blame someone." Liam said seriously, "There's nothing wrong, true love is innocent." I interrupted with a bit of amusement, "Are you done with the show? You're not my groom anyway, why are you canceling the marriage?" Liam was stunned for half a second. "What do you mean by that?" Ethan stepped over with his long legs, stood in front of me and said coldly, "Evelyn means that this is my wedding with her, and those who are not important please leave." "Who are you?" I took Ethan's arm. "He is my groom, the young master of the Lee family, don't be so self-indulgent." Emily retorted softly, "What young master of the Lee family? I remember that there is only Liam in the Lee family." Liam looked at Lee's father and mother for confirmation. "Dad, Mom." Lee's mother said lightly, "Oh, I forgot to tell you that you are not my biological child. You were taken away by mistake when you were born." Lee's father looked disgusted. "You two go down quickly, don't embarrass yourself here, and delay the auspicious day of my baby son and Evelyn." Yes, my fiancé was Liam half a month ago. But half a month ago, the Lee family suddenly found out that he was taken away by mistake. For so many years, they have actually raised a son for others. Liam was busy hanging out with Emily at that time, and he disappeared, and no one could contact him. Lee's father and mother were extremely disappointed with him. After finding out that Liam was not his biological child, they also planned to let this unfilial son fend for himself. So, my marriage partner was changed quietly. It was replaced by Ethan, the real young master who returned to the Lee family. Since Lee's mother's surname was also Zhou, Ethan did not change his name. As the daughter of Zhang's enterprise, I already had a marriage relationship with the Lee family, so it was naturally impossible for me to marry Liam, a fake young master who was not worthy of the name. We all thought that Liam would disappear until the end of the wedding. Who knew that he not only came on the wedding day, but also naively thought that he was the eldest young master of the Lee family and that he was the groom today. He even wanted Emily to wear a wedding dress to complete the wedding instead of me. What a wishful thinking. Liam hesitated to believe his ears. He turned around blankly to look at the promotional posters around. It was a wedding photo of Ethan and me. The man and the woman were extremely well matched, and there was no way he had anything to do with it. What are these two weirdos? It was not their wedding, but they had to come to show their presence. This woman is still wearing a wedding dress. Does she think she can become a phoenix today? It's so funny. The audience kept whispering. Emily held the hem of her wedding dress tightly, lowered her head and her face turned as red as liver. Ethan called to the security guards in the audience, "Take them down. This is my big day, my home court, how can I allow an outsider like him to ruin it?" I continued my wedding in style. I exchanged rings with Ethan on the stage. My eyes accidentally swept to Liam, who was whispering with Emily in the distance, and I smiled. I am so glad that my fiancé has changed. Although Ethan and I were tit for tat in the debate team in college. But to be honest, whether it is body shape, temperament, or career, Ethan has crushed Liam in all aspects without dead ends. Replace a useless fiancé who hooks up with green tea with a mature and elegant handsome man. Why not? I felt a little familiar when Emily looked at Ethan while nestling in Liam's arms. The ambition that could not be hidden in her pitiful appearance was almost like a tide overflowing. When the nanny Aunt Shen brought her to my house, she acted submissive, gentle and friendly, following me like a little tail, wanting to be good sisters with me. At that time, I didn't mind having an extra friend, and she came in and out of my house to play with me at will. Liam lived next door to my house and would come to see me from time to time. I didn't know how Emily knew him, but she kept calling him Liam, which made Liam very happy. And she knew that Liam's grades were very average, but she would still take the exercises and deliberately approach Liam when he came to my house and timidly asked, "Liam, I don't know how to do this question, can you explain it to me?" When I was 16 years old, Emily took my room key from Aunt Chen while I was not at home, and ran to my room to steal clothes. When I forgot to take my things and came back, she burst into tears like pearls. "I'm sorry, Evelyn, my family has been poor since I was a child. The clothes I wear are all left by my cousins. I have never worn such high-end clothes, so I thought." "Why are you crying? Just because you are weak, you are right? You can just steal other people's clothes and wear them." I smelled my clothes. Almost every piece was stained with cheap perfume, and one piece even had a large yellow stain, which was simply unbearable. I am not a kind and merciful person. Isn't this the first time you came to steal my clothes? Now you and your mother get out of my house immediately, but you have to pay for the clothes you soiled. Liam was immediately defeated when he heard her words, and rushed over to block Emily. Evelyn, you don't have to be so aggressive, she was scared to tears by you. I felt extremely ridiculous. She cried because she did something wrong, and crying makes her right? She can wear my clothes casually, and make them so dirty. It's all my fault. I thought I was Sister Evelyn and treated me as a good sister. Don't be afraid, Liam said to her, then frowned and looked at me. You are really an out-of-touch lady. Not everyone is born in Rome. Emily is already so pitiful, so what's wrong with her wearing your clothes? I can still remember his disgusted and puzzled look at that time. I seem to be the arrogant and vicious female supporting role who promotes their plot. Bah! Aunt Shan cried and begged for mercy, and slapped Emily twice. Only then did my mother not pursue the financial loss for the sake of their old relationship, but just fired her to make such a big thing small. After Lee's mother learned about this, she also sneered at Emily's behavior and told Liam to stay away from Emily, but I ran into them together several times in school. Before that, I regarded Liam as my childhood brother, and I once had a crush on him. After that, I wanted to stay as far away from him as possible. Even if Liam agreed to marry me in the future, I would run away on the wedding day. But fortunately, I don't have to run away. Who told Emily to be so competitive to control this useless young master? The wedding ended and the guests dispersed. Ethan stretched out his hand to me, and the ring on his slender finger was particularly shining. Let's go, Mrs. Zhou. I held his hand. At that time, we were in debate teams in different universities. I met him many times and lost several times. I hated him so much that I even dreamed of him arguing with me. I didn't expect that I would marry him now, which is also amazing. My future parents-in-law were smiling behind us. Mom, wait a minute, Emily and I are getting married. Liam chased after me. It seemed that Liam's mother remembered that there was such a person as him. You guys, if you want to be together, then be together, no one will stop you. Lee's mother shrugged. Thank you, Auntie, for your help. Emily was very moved, tears welled up in her eyes again. Liam also breathed a sigh of relief. Why are you still calling me Auntie? You will be my mother's daughter-in-law in the future, so you should change your words, Emily. Emily was about to speak. Oh, don't. I can't bear it, Lee's mother smiled. Liam is not my biological child, and what you two do has nothing to do with me, so you don't have to call me Mom. After that, Lee's mother took my hand and said to me with a smile, and my daughter-in-law is only Evelyn, so you must not try to find relatives. Emily's face turned blue and purple. Liam pulled Emily behind him, looked at Ethan with hostility, and looked him up and down unwillingly. Since you have found your biological son, you have to tell me where my biological parents are, right? Ethan, they will come to take you home soon. Emily and Liam's eyes lit up. Yes, Ethan has a sharp face, bright eyes, and a noble temperament. He is the most suitable man in a suit that my family has ever seen. With such an image, one can tell from his family background that he must be either rich or noble. Emily pulled Liam, her eyes and eyebrows were full of joy. It's okay, Liam, I will wait with you no matter how long it takes, your family will be here soon. It was so funny. She must have already confirmed that Liam's biological parents are rich and she was very happy. Ethan asked me, Mrs. Zhou, do you want to continue watching the fun or go home with me? No hurry, just accompany me to watch a show. Just then, two cars drove over, one was a pure black Maybach, and the other was a green taxi with a sense of age. Here we go. Liam immediately pulled Emily towards the Maybach. But the driver who got out of the Maybach was my family's driver, who walked straight past the two people and walked towards my parents. Sir, madam, please get in the car. It passed by the two people as if it was passing through the air. I felt embarrassed for them. My mother-in-law pointed them out. Liam, your biological parents are over there in the taxi. A couple dressed very simply got out of the taxi, their hair was mostly white, and their bodies were slightly hunched. The middle-aged couple was accompanied by a skinny boy with facial features similar to Liam. The three of them got out and went straight to Liam and Emily. My son, Mom, and Dad really miss you. Then she hugged him and complained with tears. You must miss your parents too, right? How come we didn't realize you were taken away by mistake? We should have discovered it earlier. Liam let them hug him, his body stiff. Emily asked in disbelief, are you really Liam's biological parents? Behind him, Liam's mother excitedly held Emily's hand. Yes, kid, you are my son's girlfriend, right? Emily laughed dryly and said, yes. Liam's mother stuffed the red plastic bag in her hand into Emily's arms. Auntie, these are the free-range eggs laid by the chickens I raised at home, and they are also a gift from Auntie to you. What? Free-range eggs? Emily was unconvinced. No thanks, Auntie, you should keep what Auntie gave you. We are all family in the future. Don't be polite to Auntie. I know you city people can't eat free-range eggs, so I brought them specially. Although I should be touched. But I have to say the scene was a bit funny. I turned around and saw that Ethan looked unusually indifferent. It was as if he didn't know those three people at all. When he saw me looking at him, his eyes softened and he asked with a smile, "Have you seen enough? Is it time to go? Then go home. It's boring to see this kind of thing too much." Liam's father said to Liam, "You go back with your biological parents. We have packed your luggage at home. I will ask someone to send it over later." That's it. His biological mother was still talking to Emily. "When are you two going to get the marriage certificate? I will go back later to arrange your wedding and banquet." "I don't know yet." Emily frowned slightly. "By the way, Aunt, where is your home?" "Of course, we will go back to our rural hometown." Emily's voice changed. "Rural area?" Ethan and I returned home. Since I had a great time watching the theater just now, I didn't hide my happiness at all and entered the room humming a ditty. The French-style room was decorated more festively than usual. The door slammed behind him. Ethan was taking off his suit jacket, his back broad under his white shirt. "Are you tired?" "It's okay, I'm very excited." He chuckled suddenly, raised his hand and loosened his tie. "Yeah, I'm excited too." Looking at the inexplicable goo man, I swallowed my saliva. Why do I think we are not excited about the same point? It was my first time getting married and I had no experience. I was thinking frantically about what to do, and hesitating whether to talk to him about college. At this time, my waist suddenly tightened, and the man hugged me from behind. "Evelyn, you spent too much time on insignificant people and things today. Now it's my turn." The breath came to me intentionally or unintentionally, and my heartbeat accelerated. I turned my head and was about to speak when he sealed my lips. The kiss went from shallow to deep, and after a while I heard him ask, "Do you want to take a shower?" "Okay." I pretended to be calm and went to the cloakroom to get pajamas. I walked into the bathroom and found Ethan standing in the bathroom. It was a bit hard to bear. "Then you take a shower first." Before I turned around, the man took my wrist and pulled me over. Then the sound of the bathroom door closing sounded, and the kiss fell again. He lowered his head and looked into my eyes. "Evelyn, we are married." I still remember how he talked freely when he stood on the debate team against me in college. His views were sharp and to the point, but his appearance was cold and abstinent. Is he pretending or has he changed? The answer to me was a long night. The next day, when Ethan dressed up and went to work, I was still sleeping. I didn't touch the pillow until the second half of the night last night, and now I was so sleepy that I couldn't open my eyes. "Wife, I'm going to work." I vaguely said, to him, and vaguely felt him kissing my forehead. I slept until noon, and the magical thing was that I actually saw the news tracking of Liam's recognition of his relatives on TV. Liam had a sad face throughout the whole process. But the reporter said next to him, "We can see from Mr. Lee's expression that he is very moved by this recognition of his ancestors. It's so funny. This young master has never been to such a place. I guess he hasn't reacted yet." His biological parents' home is a small 3-story self-built in the countryside, and the surrounding buildings are generally short. There are more than a dozen chickens around the fence at the door. Young Master Lee has probably never been to such a place since he was a child. The brand name on his body is in sharp contrast with the surrounding environment. He frowned and said to the camera, "Stop filming." His father said, "Are you stupid? You get paid for interviews." The camera swept over Emily next to him. Her smile was uglier than crying, but Liam's mother held her hand and said, "This is my son's girlfriend. She is so beautiful, and she doesn't mind us not having a house or a car. She is such a good child." Liam said, "Emily doesn't care about these, but I have a house, a car and savings. I will never let her suffer any grievances." Emily's face improved. "I like him as a person, his family has nothing to do with me." The narration of the program said that Liam is young and successful in his career, and said that Emily is a rare girl who is not materialistic these days. My mother-in-law and I were amused by this. Liam's car, house and the cards he used are all from the Lee family. He still thought he was a rich man, but my parents-in-law took back the RV, bank cards, and the branch office that Liam had given him to manage, except for the Lamborghini he was driving. My mother-in-law smiled with relief. "Fortunately, he is not my biological son, otherwise I would have kicked him out of the house. After all these years, I have invested so much time and money in him, but he is so disappointing in the end." After I married Ethan, the Lee family gave Ethan and me a large villa in a quiet area in the city center, with a very advantageous location. Me and Ethan in the past. I found two people standing at the door of the villa. They were the romantic Liam and his girlfriend. I got out of the car and walked over with Ethan. "What are you guys doing in my house?" Emily timidly hid behind Liam, looking delicate and frightened by my fierceness. It was obvious that Liam's desire to protect her suddenly swelled. "What do you mean your house?" "This is the villa my mother gave me before. I should be asking you why you came here." At this time, the housekeeper of the villa saw Ethan and me, and came to greet us. "Master, madam, you are here." Before I even took a step, Liam pulled Emily in. He was stopped by the housekeeper. "Sir, please don't break into other people's homes." "What's wrong with you, Lowly? This house is mine. I came here a few days ago." Do you believe I will fire you if you do this again? This house has nothing to do with you now. I have asked someone to change the lock. If you force your way in, you will be breaking into a private house. You have no right to fire him. Ethan said calmly, and said to Lowly, you did a good job. I will ask someone to give you a raise later. Liam has been a young master for more than 20 years and has been smooth sailing. People around him respect his status and give him some face, but he thinks that he is awesome. Now he was suddenly interrupted and stood there at a loss. Emily said softly, looking at Ethan pitifully, Evelyn, Mr. Zhou, I'm sorry, I really didn't come here to disturb you on purpose, it's just. Ethan interrupted her spell with one sentence, you know you're sorry, why don't you leave? I didn't even need to do anything, I curled my lips and took his arm into the front yard of the villa. And Liam could only watch us go in, isolating the two of them outside the iron gate. There was a swing in the yard, and the sun was shining, it was a good day for swinging. Soon, my parents-in-law also came. We made an appointment to have dinner in the new house. Liam seemed to have seen a life-saving straw, and greeted them with a smile, Mom and Dad, you are here. This house was bought for me to get married, he said, pointing at me eating fruit and swinging on the swing in the yard. Now they won't let me in, and they changed the locks and everything. Why did they let you in? Liam's father frowned, this house was originally prepared for my baby son's wedding house. Now you are not my son, do you still want to stay here? Liam was obviously hit, and Emily spoke at this time, Uncle and Aunt, how can you do this? After all, he has been with you for more than 20 years, and you have spent so much energy to cultivate him. Even if there is no blood relationship, there is still affection. Lee's father said, yes, I spent so much energy training him. He managed the branch office in a mess. He was always out with women and wasted money. He even disappeared. Now I think all the money and energy I spent was a waste. Liam lowered his head in shame. He couldn't even fart. Actually, he wasn't such a loser before, he was just a little stupid. But when filling in the college entrance examination application, his family asked him to apply for a university in the city. He agreed on the surface, but the admission letter he received later was for a university far away from home, in the same city as Emily's junior college. Freed from the constraints of Lee's father and mother, he should have let himself go, indulged in eating, drinking and having fun, and learned his major courses poorly. Then he became a complete loser. But Lee's father and mother thought that he was their son after all, so they gave him a branch company to manage after he graduated and ordered capable subordinates to assist him, but he was a hopeless case. He disappeared at any time and took Emily on a trip on a whim. He thought that no matter what, his family was big and someone would cover him. Lee's mother looked at Emily and smiled and said, you are in true love, right? When asked this question suddenly, Emily nodded quickly, yes. If it is true love, you have to overcome many difficulties. This little test is nothing. The most important thing is that the two of you are together, right? Lee's mother said, turning to Liam, besides, your girlfriend is not a materialistic girl. You don't have to worry about not having a house, a car, or money. After Lee's mother finished speaking, she walked towards me with a smile, Evelyn, I saw these 2 bags while shopping just now. I feel that they are particularly suitable for your temperament. Take a look and see if you like them. Thank you, Mom. I took it without hesitation. Emily looked at me angrily at the door, almost staring a hole in me. I suddenly remembered a physical education class in high school. Emily and I were in the same class. Just as I was about to overtake her and speed up, she suddenly fell in front of me, scraping off a large piece of skin from her knee. But she said to Liam, Evelyn didn't trip me on purpose, it's okay, Liam. Only Liam, a fool, would be deceived by her tricks and said to me in a fair manner, Evelyn, I really don't want to say anything to you, just apologize to her and let this matter pass. I was too lazy to explain and slowly walked in front of her. She thought I was going to apologize to her. She lowered her head and couldn't suppress the corners of her lips. Actually, it's not necessary. But I just slapped her cleanly and neatly, and there was laughter all around. I said, is this slap enough to apologize? The force was so strong that she was stunned. After a few seconds, she looked at me with a poisonous look, but because Liam was there, she couldn't get angry. Evelyn, you really went too far. This slap broke Liam's heart. Evelyn, you are unreasonable. You are a school bully. But after that, as she wished, Liam never spoke to me again, and never came to my house. I really wanted it. When I thought about Ethan helping me to deal with that green tea today, I was very happy. Finally, I married a smart man who would not be blinded by such low-level tricks. So after dinner in the evening, after sending my parents-in-law away, I took the initiative to hug Ethan's waist. He raised his eyebrows slightly, what's wrong? Reward you. I kissed his lips when he looked down at me. The man's eyes paused for a second, and then he held the back of my head without hesitation, closed his eyes and deepened the kiss. At about 11 o'clock, the mobile phone placed beside my bed suddenly rang. I squinted and looked at it. It was an unfamiliar number, and the other party hung up before I answered. Ethan was wearing silver-rimmed glasses, sitting next to me reading a book. His profile was handsome, but his eyelashes were as long as crow feathers. I have to say that this man is really a little too energetic. Whose call? I don't know whose, I don't know. Yeah. After a while, feeling that I was looking at him, he looked at me sideways and said, "Why are you looking at me all the time? You are so energetic. You are so energetic now?" He smiled. I felt a little mockery. If I wasn't tired of watching you. I covered his restless mouth, and he took my hand and kissed the back of my hand gently. You didn't show mercy when you debated with me before. Have you ever thought that I might be your future wife? He looked at me, and the emotions in his eyes were a little gloomy. If I lose to you, will you still have such a deep impression of me as a person? Why not? I also deliberately asked about him. His pretty eyes curved, and then he jokingly said, "You're asking about me?" I said vaguely, "Yes, college bully, we're from the same college, it's hard for me not to hear about you, a big shot." He's a very cool and arrogant person, he's either on the way to make money or on the way to make money, and he's the first in the department in his major courses, and he also developed software and established a company with his classmates. So why did you work so hard at that time? He was silent for a while and asked me, "Want to know?" Yes. He hesitated for a moment, as if he was wondering whether to say it or not. I sat up and hugged him, leaning against his chest. "Why, can't you tell your wife?" "Ethan, it feels like I'm playing a pity game if I tell you." For so many years, Ethan's adoptive parents have basically ignored him. In junior high school, he was sent to live with distant relatives, helping relatives who opened a small restaurant in exchange for 3 meals a day and tuition. He had to earn all his living expenses in high school and college by himself. In college, his adoptive parents frequently found reasons to ask him for money to supplement the family expenses. He used to think that his adoptive parents were poor and didn't know how to express their love, so they ignored him so thoroughly until their second son was born. He saw how his adoptive parents loved their children. Only then did he realize that if you are not loved, you are not loved, and there is no so-called hardship at all. After realizing this, he rarely went home because no one at home welcomed him. Although his adoptive parents did not ask him for less money, 90% of the money for the land and house in their hometown was paid by Ethan. No wonder he worked so hard at that time. I was furious. Your adoptive parents are so inhuman. I really suspect that they have known that you are not their biological child for a long time. Otherwise, how could they be so inhumane and no one cares about you? It's okay. You have a wife now. I will love you well. I said half jokingly and half seriously, touching his head. He suddenly hugged me. He lowered his head and buried it in the crook of my neck. He breathed a long sigh of relief. You said it, Evelyn. On the other side, Liam walked down the street with Emily in a daze. Let's go eat. He was used to spending lavishly. Now he only had a few thousand yuan in change on WeChat. The cards that he could swipe at were all stopped. After struggling, he decided to go to a small roadside restaurant. Emily frowned. I don't want to eat this. Then what do you want to eat? The seafood restaurant you said you would take me to last time. In the past, he would take her there without hesitation, but now he no longer has the financial resources. When he thought about going back to that home, back to that narrow space that was so different from where he used to live, he felt suffocated like never before. I don't have much money on me now, I'll take you out to eat another day. Emily didn't speak for a long time, and she suddenly received a call. Emily said, my mother just called me to go home for dinner, so I won't eat with you. Do you want me to take you home? Your car has been taken back, what can you take me with? I'll call you a taxi. He didn't know if it was his illusion, but Emily's tone just now seemed a little aggressive, which made him inexplicably panic. He hugged Emily. Emily, I only have you now, you will definitely not leave me, right? Let's get married after I move my household registration back in a few days, okay? Emily didn't hug him back for a long time. After a long while, he said, Liam, I actually want to ask you, do you have the conditions to get married now? Liam continued, I'm already 25, I can get married. I'm not talking about age, I'm talking about whether you have a house and a car now? Do you have the most basic money for a wedding banquet? Emily, I remember you're not that kind of materialistic girl. Liam felt that Emily in front of him was indescribably strange, even though she had been pestering him a few days ago to ask when he could marry her home. I'm sorry, Liam, I just think that you're having a hard time now, and marrying you now would just add burden to you, and I don't want to drag you down. Okay, I'm leaving first. It turned out that she said this for his sake. If it was Evelyn, the eldest lady, she would have scolded him to death. Thinking of this, he called his good friends to borrow some money, but they were either busy with work or simply didn't answer the phone, even though they had been vying to ask him out to play before. He was dejected on the street. He didn't want to go back to his real home, but he was reluctant to spend money to stay in a hotel. In the end, he took a long bumpy bus and went back resignedly. When he got off the car, he almost vomited. but when he stepped into the house, his biological parents came over and said, "You're back. The refrigerator at home has been used for 10 years. We plan to replace it with a new one. What do you think? If you want to buy it, buy it." "Why are you asking me? But this refrigerator is a bit expensive. We are still short of 2,000 yuan. Look at this. What kind of person is this? He has not been back for long and he started asking for money. I don't have money either." Liam didn't look good to them. He transferred 500 yuan to them and went straight into the room. The bed was not soft at all. He felt uncomfortable no matter how he lay on it. He tossed and turned all night and couldn't sleep. He spent a few days at home in a daze, ordering takeout and watching short videos every day. In a few days, the only balance he had went from 4 digits to 3 digits. He opened WeChat, but there was no new message, and Emily didn't come to see him. He took the initiative to call her. "Why haven't you taken the initiative to look for me recently?" But she said, "Liam, let's not meet again for the time being. My mother won't let me meet you." "Why?" Liam sat up as if struck by lightning. "My mother said, if you want to marry me, don't talk about the wedding banquet and the RV, you can't take out the 880,000 yuan dowry promised to my family now. My mother won't let me go out to see you now, and wants me to break up with you." The last time he went to Emily's house, Anchin even pulled him aside and said that her daughter was lucky to find a boyfriend like him, and she was very enthusiastic about him. "I will find a way to get the money for the dowry no matter what. Emily, wait for me, I will never let you." "I know, my mother is here now, I won't tell you for now." The phone was hung up, and Liam scratched his head frantically. But he is at the end of his rope now. He has a headache when he thinks about going to work. In the past few days, he has submitted his resume online, but the other party has basically read it but not replied. And to be honest, he doesn't like that salary. He used to spend much more than that on a meal. I thought the matter was over, but it wasn't. I received a strange call, and the voice on the other end was Liam's. "Evelyn, I'm sorry to call you so late." His tone was surprisingly gentle. "What's the matter?" "Nothing serious, just, can you lend me some money?" I said, "Are we close? You have hands and feet, and you've been to college. Would it cost you your life to find a job and make money? Finding a job also takes time. Considering that we grew up together for so many years, can you lend me some money to make ends meet? I'm really desperate. You know that food, clothing, housing, and transportation all cost money." "I'm sorry, I don't know. Didn't you say that I don't care about worldly things?" "Forgot?" He was stuck on the other end of the phone for half a second. "How do you feel about the world now, Evelyn? Why are you just... Forget it, it happened so many years ago, why are you still arguing with me?" Liam was arrogant for a second, and then he was humble in the next second. "Miss Jiang, Princess Jiang, can I beg you? I really... Don't try to be so mean, you figure it out yourself, you're so grown up." I hung up the phone after I said that. Who is playing the emotional card with him here? When he was indiscriminately scolding me for Emily, why didn't he mention the friendship of growing up together? Now talking about this, who will fall for your tricks? But he was really persistent and called me again. I blocked his mobile phone number directly. It was so annoying. At noon, I went shopping with my sisters and passed by Ethan's company on the way, so I asked the driver to drive to his place to pick him up after get off work. But I saw Emily standing at the door of the building. She was holding something in her hand, as if waiting for someone. I sat in the car, quietly watching what she was going to perform. At this time, Emily quickly smoothed her hair, adjusted her expression and walked to his side. "Mr. Zhou, can I bother you for a minute?" She took out a lunchbox from her handbag, and it was pink. "I made this myself. I hope you can forgive me and Liam for our recklessness last time. I don't mean anything else." It was the time when a large group of employees came out to eat, and Emily's behavior really attracted people's attention. After all, running to deliver food, it is not something that people with close relationships would do. Ethan didn't even look at her, no need. The special assistant next to him stopped her and said, "Miss, please respect yourself. Our president is going to have dinner with the president's wife now. Please don't do such misleading behavior." People around began to whisper, "Why do you say that about me?" "I don't mean that at all. Emily's experience is that if she pretends to be pitiful, everyone will stand on her side, and no matter what, others will consider giving her face in public." But her trick didn't work on Ethan at all. I got out of the car slowly and deliberately said, "Husband." The eyes around me fell on me. "Oh my God, this is the president's wife. So beautiful." Ethan naturally reached out to me, and a smile naturally appeared at the end of his cold eyes, which was completely different from his poker face just now. Seeing this, Emily ran away. But probably because she was too panicked, she didn't look at the road and bumped into the delivery boy who was speeding by. She was fine, but the bag in her hand that hit the lunchbox had a close contact with the ground. With a clang, the food inside fell to the ground. 2 pieces of bacon cut into a big heart shape fell out from it, and there was a small card with her contact information. It was really Sima Zhao's intention, and passersby knew it. A passerby laughed out loud. Help, love bacon? Is it Liang Jingru who gave her the courage? Emily was so angry that she could only vent her anger on the delivery man. How do you ride a bike? Miss, I was just walking straight and you suddenly jumped out. What does it have to do with me? I took Ethan's arm and left. I'm tired of watching this drama, but she still hasn't improved and still uses this trick. I'm really going to die of laughter. I went to get a new hairstyle in the afternoon and went to visit my mother-in-law. We live very close, just a few minutes drive away. I haven't seen her for a few days, and she bought me a bunch of things again. I saw this skirt when I was shopping, and it suits you very well, so I bought it for you. And these 2 bags, they match the skirt you bought with me last time. Do you like them? I like them very much, thank you Mom. My mother-in-law and I have a very similar aesthetic, and I like what she thinks is beautiful. Suddenly there was a noise outside. It's here. It was Liam's adoptive parents and Liam. I frowned. Liam's biological father said seriously, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Lee, we have something to discuss with you. My mother-in-law, what do we have to discuss? Out of courtesy, my mother-in-law invited them into the living room and asked them to sit down and talk. Liam's biological mother said, you know, our Liam will get married soon, how about we discuss his marriage now? What does his marriage have to do with my mother-in-law? I said. My mother-in-law patted the back of my hand, looked at me gently, and then said to them, go on. But you also know our family situation. We only have a self-built house, and we can't afford the bride price. We can't prepare a house or a car for financial reasons, so we hope you can pay for it. After all, Liam has called you parents for more than 20 years, and you have a big family. It should be a small matter for you to pay this money. She looked as if it was a matter of course. My mother-in-law continued to ask, anything else? There is nothing more to worry about. You can pay 4 or 5 million or more, and we will take care of other things. I really don't know that there are such shameless people in this world. Liam kept his head down throughout the whole process, obviously agreeing with his parents' approach. My father-in-law has been in the business world for many years, and he sneered. Why do you want us to pay for your son's marriage? And you asked for millions of dollars. What are you thinking? I read in the newspaper that your group's annual revenue increases by hundreds of millions. This amount of money is not a big deal for you, right? Liam's father said, besides, you have raised him so much, why don't you just be a good person and send him off to the West? Liam was silent for a long time before saying, just this time, we won't bother you again in the future. My father-in-law looked at him and said, you also know that we have raised him so much, and we have been very kind not to ask him to return the money he has wasted on him over the years. Please go back, we can't continue to waste money. We also wasted a lot of money training Ethan, and he is so isn't it because we spent a lot of effort on him. What effort did you spend? I couldn't help but interrupt him, I just want to ask you what effort you spent. You spent your effort to send him to others as a laborer, forcing him to earn his tuition fees. Not only did the university not pay him tuition fees, but they also started to ask him for money. I want to ask you what you paid for? How dare you say such things? Liam's mother hesitated. Why are you so mean, little girl? We are doing this for his own good to train him and train his independent ability. I smiled and continued, haha, why don't you let your own son train, and bring him to ask for money? He has been lazy for more than 20 years and it's time for him to start training now. They couldn't say anything anymore. My mother-in-law said, you don't know yet, I have already called the police to investigate this matter. They stood up and said in a panic, why did you call the police when I just want some money? If you refuse to leave, we will naturally file a lawsuit for extortion. As for the fact that I called the police, you should know it well. We don't know, we haven't done anything illegal. She shook her head vigorously, but it made people feel guilty, we don't want your money. Liam became curious. Call the police? What's the matter? Liam's mother's face turned pale. Yes, we just came to ask you for money. Since you are so heartless and ungrateful that you don't give it to me, why do you have to frame me like this? At this time, the police also came. My parents-in-law had already called the police to investigate the wrong child case. Today, the police just found out that the wrong child was indeed intentionally carried out by Liam's mother, and the nurse in that hospital was a relative of Liam's mother. The nurse was asked by Liam's mother to swap Ethan and Liam. This behavior is not only immoral, but also illegal. The nurse has been found by the police and confessed to her crime. Liam's mother really didn't expect that she would fall into a trap by coming to ask for money. The police took them away and my family was left in peace. I was angry when I thought about what they had done to Ethan over the years, so when Ethan came back to have dinner with us, I kept putting food into his bowl. My parents-in-law smiled like ants. I didn't know about Emily's news. After all, my time is so precious that there is no need to waste it on her. Later, when I saw their news, it was still on social news. Emily was the protagonist. When she was having a candlelight dinner with a middle-aged man in a Western restaurant, the original wife who rushed over overturned the table. The woman scolded Emily as a mistress and poured wine on her. This dramatic scene was just taken by the spectators who were dining in the same restaurant. It was posted online and became a hot topic. After Liam knew about this, he had a big fight with her. The two of them openly argued on the street, exposing each other's shortcomings, and were posted online by passers-by who loved to eat melons. The omnipotent netizens also dug out Liam's previous recognition videos, edited them in a magical way, and included them in the Extreme Reversal series. In the video, Emily said that she was attracted to Liam's person, and his family had nothing to do with her. The next second, she pointed at Liam and said that he was a rural man who couldn't even find a job. If I hadn't seen you as a rich young master before, I wouldn't bother to approach you. The previous second, Liam was still talking about letting Emily marry him in a grand manner, and the next second he pointed at her nose and asked me how much money I spent on you. Can you count it? If you have the ability, return all the money I spent on you. Netizens summed it up in one sentence: I can only say that one of these two people is stupid and the other is cheap. Let's just lock them up. All we can say is that Liam brought this upon himself, and Emily didn't report that the time had not come yet. Of course, these after-dinner conversations were sent to me by friends who saw them, because I was busy on my honeymoon with Ethan. Just treat their story as a joke, and living our current life well is the most important thing. We walked hand in hand on the beach at night. Go to various beautiful places to check in and take pictures. It feels good to get married first and then fall in love. It suddenly rained on the beach. The rain was light, so he and I just walked slowly in the rain. But the rain got heavier and heavier, so we went back to the hotel. As soon as we entered the room, he pulled us into the bathroom and took a long shower. I suddenly remembered the time when I ran to the opposite university to find my friends and passed by the basketball court when I was in college. It was raining at that time, and there were several boys playing basketball in the rain. I accidentally caught sight of Ethan. The white t-shirt on him stuck to his body because of the rain, almost like it was transparent, showing the continuous outline of his abdominal muscles under his broad shoulders. I stopped walking for some reason. The rain stopped, and the boys took off their t-shirts one after another. Ethan also took off his t-shirt, revealing his lean upper body. He wrung out the rain water and quickly put it back on. When he turned around, he happened to meet my eyes. The boy's eyes were clear and calm, but the originally indifferent expression was stunned for a moment when he saw me, and his ears soon turned red. He looked away a little unnaturally. Joe, the college bully, has a good figure. I teased him, but he walked away without looking back. Come here, blow your hair. I put away the distant memories, walked to his side obediently, and enjoyed his service. I asked him to blow my hair several times before, and now I am getting more and more skilled. After blowing, he put down the hairdryer, held me in the middle of the bed, bent down and kissed me. I loosely wrapped my arms around his neck, feeling the warmth radiating from his body. Let me ask you something, did you have a crush on me in college? Why do you blush when you see me? Ethan curled his lips. When have I ever blushed? I described the situation to him, and he soon remembered it. But he smiled, his eyes were gentle like the moonlight spreading. Should I ask you, you still remember me when I took off my shirt? Have you been thinking about me for a long time? Absolutely not. His kiss fell on my earlobe and rubbed it. You still say no? I was forced to surrender. Okay, I am thinking about you. When I was drowsy in the second half of the night, I vaguely heard him say in my ear, I like you, but I never thought I would have you. But now I have you, Mrs. Zhou. Long-term indifference made him wear sharp armor and a cold mask. He met the girl who moved his heart at first sight, but he also knew that he was very different from her. He had a good age, but he had no money, and he needed to make more money. How dare I miss a beautiful woman with clean hands? He liked her, but he never thought of owning her. But he still had some selfishness, wanting her to remember his name and leave a slightly stronger impression in her memory. So he signed up for a debate competition that didn't make him money, wasn't very interesting to him, and was a waste of time.